Time now for our Consumer Confidential. Now, we all know that sinking feeling when you get that confusing bill in the mail, whether it's from your doctor, a credit card, even a traffic violation. But there are steps to dispute charges, even if you don't think they're right. And here to share the right way to do it, NBC News Chief Consumer Investigative Correspondent Vicky Nguyen.
So we're disputing today. We've got our gloves on. We're ready to fight.
Come on.
We're ready to fight.
One of the hardest ones, I think, are medical bills because there's so much jargon on there, and it's like, what am I even reading?
On code. First, what I would say is just remember this. Only about 1% of people will appeal a medical bill, but those 1%, 50% get approved. Wow. So your odds are great. Just remember, if something's not right, file an appeal. But the first thing you want to do is review your itemized bill. Up to 45% of medical bills contain some sort of error, a duplicate charge, something they're charging you for that you didn't even receive. So just make sure everything on there is legit, first and foremost. Then if you are appealing, you want to submit your formal request in writing and contact your insurance company. You're looking at an explanation of benefits, the thing they send you. It says, this is not a bill. It's just telling you what they did. And you want to make sure that that matches up. And if it says this is covered and they're trying to charge you for it, that's what you're putting in writing to tell them.
So don't throw those out.
Do not throw those out. And use them as the basis for your argument. Understand there was a No Surprises Act passed in 2022. So these are your rights to protect you from unexpected emergency costs that come from out of network. Look, if you're having an emergency, you're being flown somewhere in an air ambulance, you're unconscious. You're not choosing to take the helicopter. They had to take you.
You did that story.
I did that story. And it was very important that you know you have rights in those cases and you can file an appeal and not have to pay a $60,000 air ambulance bill. And then finally, with these out-of-network services, it's a similar kind of situation. You do not have to be charged for certain things. You go to an in-network hospital. Sometimes they perform out-of-network procedures. So those can be covered, especially if you didn't elect to have those. Do not ignore bills. The don't is never ignore it. That can lead to increased interest and fees. It can lead to collections agencies. It can be a hit on your credit. Even, they can take legal action. So you do want to address these charges.
All right. Those are medical bills. Let's talk about invoices for a second, because let's say, hypothetically, you buy something and it's not what you thought it was. It's defective, or you have, fraudulent charges on your credit card. How do you go about disputing those
The
invoices?
first thing you do is you're going to document what happened. Take pictures. If it never arrived, obviously, then you can say it never arrived. If it arrives and it's broken, the box is dented, it's damaged, you want to have documentation of all of that. Then contact the merchant first. They're the ones who are supposed to make it right. But if they don't, which sometimes happens, you are allowed to contact your credit card. And I always tell you to put everything on your credit card for this very reason, to protect you against fraud, but also to protect you when things arrive and they are defective. So that's part of your rights. And that's when you're going to file that dispute. Credit card companies make it pretty easy. You can usually do it through the app, online, or even just filing a claim over the phone. But just be prepared that you don't have forever to do it. Usually it's about 60 days from the statement date to file that dispute. Something you definitely do not want to do is circumvent the merchant. Don't ignore the merchant. You need to go there first, because if you go directly to your credit card company, they're going to the merchant. And if the merchant says, no, I did send it, I have a tracking receipt, they received it, it was fine, then your case is weak.
Okay, let's talk about traffic tickets, because I feel like it used to be you got pulled over, you could plead your case. Now it just shows up in the mail and you're like, I don't even remember that ever happening.
Or a parking ticket. So to be clear, Dylan, we are not encouraging people to try to get away with wrongdoing, right? This is when you park somewhere and maybe the sign was obscured or confusing, or like you had to get into the bus lane to make your turn because there's a ton of construction. So in the cases like that, you do want to make sure that you've got your facts straight. You want to look at the ticket itself. Is it your name, your car model, your actual license plate? Because sometimes those tickets can be thrown out if you're like, this wasn't me. And then plead not guilty if you think that you have a case and you may see that officer in trial. This is very interesting. Sometimes when you do get a trial date and you show up and the officer doesn't, some cases, it's automatically tossed. So if you can take the time off work and you feel like you have a strong case, go ahead and fight it out in court. This is something very interesting, the reviewing subjective conclusions. This means, obviously, officers have discretion. They have judgment. Usually, judges will side with the officers because they are officers of the law. But there can be times when you're driving in an area where there is a presumed speed limit rather than an absolute speed limit.
Oh, you're going deep on this.
We're going deep. So if you can say it was a clear, sunny day, there were no cars around me, I was driving just 5 miles miles above, there were no posted signs, or the presumed conditions were safe, you may be able to make an argument for that. I think you're better off with parking tickets and things where you can kind of show that it wasn't you or not your license plate. Never assume that you're automatically guilty. Obviously, you do have rights in the situation, and never be rude or aggressive. That is not going to get.
That's not going to get you anything.
It's going to get you somewhere bad.
That's right. Okay. So, what if you get into these situations? What about when you're dealing with collection agencies? That whether you were rightfully or wrongfully accused of this,
they can be really, really aggressive, and they can lead to high blood pressure and really stress people out. So, I want you to know first, you have the right to request debt validation. That means you have to tell me in writing what it is that I owe you and prove to me why I owe it to you. So request that first and foremost. Also, we talk about negotiating all the time, whether it's your credit card interest rate. You can do that with debt. Sometimes they're happy to take 50% of what you owe. So suggest what you can pay, and perhaps you can negotiate a settlement and make them go away forever. Or you can put yourself on a payment plan. A lot of times they are very open to that. You can't pay the whole amount now, but you can pay little chunks over time. If you need to, and you feel like you're being harassed or this is illegal, the way that they're calling you, seek legal counsel, because there are lawyers out there who will fight for you and help you get out of these debt situations. The thing that you don't want to do, and this is really interesting, you don't want to give in right away and say, yes, I'll pay you, or just even pay a $5 or $10 bill before you request your debt validation and really do the homework. Because once you pay, that gets you on the hook and basically says, I acknowledge this debt, I'm on the hook for it. So take your time.
Okay.
Great advice.
Very good advice. Thanks, Vicky.
You bet.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC, or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.